when he was indicted, what was the buzz in Sierra Leone around Freetown?
Well, the indictment really was a huge information breakthrough. Freetown was excited, the whole country was excited, and interestingly enough, it's just a matter of the law, but factually people know the role Charles Taylor performed in the Sierra Leone conflict. And so there is general yearning for justice. So that was the first outcry of thank you when the indictment was unsealed. But come to the time of the arrest, you'll be surprised. People, when Charles Taylor was brought over to the special court, and I was sitting in my office, I could see right across the window to the helipad, and people were standing on rooftops, climbing on tops of trees to see this powerful warlord in handcuffs. It was a huge event, and I had a shout. It was like you were in a big game in a stadium when people saw him step off the helicopter. I thought we were in a stadium. A huge shout.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Was it difficult? Only because I assume you knew folks who were not only victims but probably perpetrators.
Certainly, Greg, that was a very huge challenge for me. Going back as a prosecutor, despite the fact that I was a prosecutor home for 8 years, but victims were family members, perpetrators were equally family members. It was very difficult. I can recall one particular occasion when I went to court, and one of the witnesses for the defense was an uncle of mine. But because they use pseudonyms and the names are so common, you wouldn't really know who the witness would be, except for what he's coming to testify to. And so we went to court, and they're sitting across from me. It's an uncle of mine, a member of the RUF. So things like that do happen, and but in the course of time and with experience, you get to be dispassionate about issues. And at the same time, I felt being in the middle, which was quite good, because there are victims on the one side and there are perpetrators on the other side. So I knew I was right there, I have to serve justice, and I felt quite good in doing that.
Do you feel a heavier burden that here you from Sierra Leone, you're the top prosecutor within the Sierra Leone tribunal? Do you feel that at all?
Of course, yes, I do. And since the time I went to the court, I carry the face of the court wherever I go. People associate me with the special court. When even I go to visit friends, after preliminary courtesies, the next issue is a special court. So that has been it. I carry the face of the court, and the failings of the court have always been heaped upon me. The successes of the court I've gained from that as well. So, but I'm accustomed to it now in the last 5 years.
Yes. What's the legacy of the special court for Sierra Leone?
Well, I always tell people that the first thing is establishment of the rule of law. The special court has been able to introduce that aspect in Sierra Leonean politics and the general Sierra Leonean attitude. Now, when we indicted Chief Nganaman, the former Deputy Minister of Defense, he was a hero to people. It signaled one thing, that no one is above the law. Everyone was shaken. And today it is reflected in body politic. And like I mentioned in the conference, that even after the elections, Sierra Leone is used to be accompanied with violence after elections. Every election will be accompanied with violence. This is one of the first time there was no violence. And when people were being interviewed about it, they said, oh, the special court is here. We don't want to be indicted. So now people know that there is law, and that law is above everyone. And part of our outreach is the legacy of the court. I went to one of our outreach meetings. An 8-year-old girl asked a question about command responsibility. And the way she asked the question, she knew what she was asking about. I was impressed. And this is not something common. So if today we can have kids of that age having knowledge of command responsibility, we've done a good job in letting people know what justice is and what international criminal law is.
Have you seen a relationship between the tribunal, its understanding of the rule of law, and the economics of Sierra Leone? You know, it was a fairly poor country, and have you seen it kind of, there's a relationship?
There is a difficulty in that area because the level of poverty. And people have always accused the court that so much millions have been spent over it, and that millions could be spent on development projects. There is some justification down that road. But my point of view has always been that there is no price for justice. there is no price for justice. We may think 2, 5, 10, 20 million, 80 million is a lot of money, but I tell you, without peace, that is nothing.
Right.
No one can pay price for peace. And that is what the special court has contributed to in Sierra Leone. And people back home are accustomed to measuring success with tangibles. They want to see good roads, huge buildings, like in the Western world. So because justice is an intangible, it's not something you can grasp or hold. So it's hard for them to compute it in monetary terms. But I think the success of the special court lies in the fact that we've been able to establish justice to a large extent within the perception of the people.